feels like it was one of these beings beforehand. And in fact, that is my understanding of why these experiences are happening to me now.
I think the dual identity that is often talked about is the one that, this is my identity here. This is who I am. I have this practice. I'm married. I live in this such and such a town. But then the other identity is that I've been with these beings almost since childhood, or as early as I can remember. And that there's a part of me that feels like at some point I'm going to be reunited with them or go home. And so the dual identity is that, it's kind of like dual citizenship.
I can still feel myself wanting to go in and try to get an answer. Wait a minute, has he really done enough therapy? Let me just think about how much therapy he's done.
You ought to be willing to at least entertain the hypothesis that it's all within the heads of the people who claim that they've been abducted.
They've been probably better studied now than almost any population that I know in terms of psychological testing, and there's not a shred of evidence that there's anything about them that is particularly pathological that would shed the slightest light on what they've been through.
Well, maybe there really was some sexual abuse, so maybe I better think about that some more.
Somebody did a survey of the population as a whole, and something like 25 to 30% of the population has been sexually abused, had a rough childhood, maybe higher than 25 or 30%. Alcoholism, broken families. And we have many cases like that. We also have many cases of intact, loving families where there is not that kind of history. It hardly makes sense that hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people all over the United States and all over the world are making up the same complex narrative to account for the most a huge variety of different sorts of disturbed childhoods. The New York Times decided this was sleep paralysis. They don't bother to fact check. They don't bother to check whether this holds up scientifically. At last we can explain this in a conventional way. The fact that people aren't asleep when it happens, that they overlook.
It seems to me the most obvious and elementary thing that any rational person would want to do is to try to verify that objectively by seeing, were there any witnesses?
It was, I think, in February of 1992. I was in New York, and I was traveling with 3 women coming back to Boston. It was a Saturday night. We decided to stay over outside of New Haven, Connecticut. Sunday morning, we got up. 3 women I was with decided to go for a walk, and I wasn't feeling good, so I decided to stay in the house. I found myself nodding out in the chair. Next thing I know, I wake up, I look at my watch, it's exactly like an hour and 5 minutes later, and the 3 women come rushing into the house and say, "Oh my God, Peter, oh my God, did you see the UFO? We just saw a UFO over the house. Let's call the police, let's report this right away." And I had no idea what to think or what to expect. I was totally freaked out because these women, these 3 people I was traveling with, had no idea about my work with John, had no idea of my memories, had no idea what I was going through. I had never talked about it. They came in and said they just saw a UFO. They were all freaked out. They had never seen a UFO. To this day, I've never seen a UFO. A few days later, all these memories and feelings came up of actually having, a being coming into that room and taking me out and going up into the ship while the 3 women were on this walk, while there's nobody in the house.
I'm curious why anybody, you or anybody else, would want to somehow find a kind of Western conventional explanation for this anyway. There isn't a culture on the planet that doesn't take it as perfectly routine that there are visitations coming from outside of us, beings of all kinds, energies of all kinds.
People have always and everywhere believed that there is a parallel world to ours, which is inhabited by what the Greeks called daimones, daimons. In Europe, traditionally, the parallel world was a world of fairies, or elves as the Anglo-Saxons call them. I see no reason to suppose that the aliens aren't connected with just traditional daemons who everyone's always believed in. And it seems to be that our culture, modern Western culture, is eccentric in not believing this. The thing about daemons is that people always believe in them as real. And you can't say they're not literally real. And you can't say they're only metaphorically real. They're kind of both, because they belong to a worldview which doesn't make that distinction.
The
aliens, like us, must be made of two things:
spirito e materia.
Spirit and matter, which is soul and body.
Ma saranno superiori a noi nel senso che l'anima, insomma, potrà agire.
But aliens must be superior to us, because their soul is not as attached to the body.
Un po' meno di quello che non siamo legati noi al corpo. Fino addirittura.
Furthermore, where is it written that only one planet is inhabitable? For heaven's sake.
I wanted to see for myself if this happens in other cultures, and if so, how they interpret it. We decided to go to Brazil, but in truth, we could have gone just about anywhere.
This phenomenon is happening all over the world. The Brazilian worldview, I think, is different from the American, because maybe we see things more emotionally or more from our hearts. Brazil is more open to other realities, like spirits and the paranormal phenomena, but the alien phenomena, when it started in Brazil, was difficult to believe in it or even to accept it. I met John Mack at the Abduction Study Conference held at the MIT, and for me it was very important to see a psychiatrist from the United States who researching abduction with a different country from me and a different culture arrived to the similar conclusion.
Why me? Choose somebody else. I don't need this. I have a family, I have a job, I have a normal life. I don't need to do this. Why? It happened when I was 10 years old. When I woke up in the middle of the night, I saw this blue light, and it came out to me and entered inside my head. And when to see what it was, I saw that big spaceship. And then I didn't see anything more. That was it. I don't remember what happened next. About 3 years ago, I had this vision. He came, and I could only see his face. He was all light. That was the only time that I saw him, actually. He told me that he would need my help to come to this planet. He would need my body to stay here. He's Ishtar. He's from another planet. Actually, he's on a mission, come over here. And I guess a lot of them come. They use these humans to get to know what is happening on this planet. I think he wants to take my life. I really don't care, because he's much more powerful than I am.
When I started research in 1980, I had this great question. I don't know if those people are crazy or if those people are real, have an experience. After dealing the process all the time, the only thing I can say, we don't know what make it happen, but it's happening, and those people can become crazy from the experience, but they are not creating the experience because they are crazy. This is very clear to me now.
My mother told me when I was 4 or 5 years old, I used to get out of my bed and go out to the backyard to watch the stars. She would come outside and say, "Boy, what are you doing up?" And I always used to say, "I don't like here. I want to go back to the place I came from."
Eu quero voltar para onde eu vim. 3 meses atrás, 4 mais ou menos.
About 3 or 4 months ago, I had a problem in my right ear. And as a musician, an ear problem is the worst thing that could happen to me.
Escutar quase que em mono, só num dos ouvidos.
Every kind of sound or voice on the right ear sounded to me like a metallic sound.
Nesse lado direito, eu escutava com som metálico.
I went to an ear doctor who checked my ear and told me everything was fine.
Aquela mesma noite.
That night, near dawn, when I tried to get up, I couldn't move. That was a familiar sensation to me, and I said to myself, there's something weird going on. I immediately felt a presence in the bedroom. My wife, next to me, was sleeping. I tried to call to her to wake her up, and I couldn't even move a finger. With a lot of effort, I was able to open my eyes, and I could see 2 small beings, one standing at the foot of my bed and the other by my left side, and a bigger one that I couldn't see. I only saw its shadow. I felt them put a pointed object in my right nostril, reach all the way to my skull, and something was done there. They took that pointed object out of my nose, and I saw the 2 little beings quickly leave. The bigger one said, be calm, and vanished. I started moving my fingers and tasted something like oil in my mouth. I haven't had any problems with that ear since. So it is really a fantastic phenomenon, which is not totally explained. I don't believe anymore that these beings are necessarily extraterrestrial, aliens from another planet, who visit us like in science fiction. I think they may be something else, maybe spiritual beings from another dimension.
We don't know really what they are. We don't know even in what reality this is happening. Even if this is just a projection in the mind, we don't know. But follow the same pattern.
I think the most characteristic element is the perception of light. And the light seems to have a certain power in it.
And as I was going to sleep, I thought, there's a blue light coming through.
Woke up. The light.
I wonder what that is. And I just went to sleep.
The light was very bright, very blue, very, very blue. White light hits me in the forehead, and I find myself like paralyzed.
The light seems to contain within itself some kind of special energy that can move.
The light comes and over the person.
Often they really do feel that their physical body is taken.
They feel they're being taken by the light.
They're not in the room anymore, and they are floated. It's the word they usually use.
I have memories of feeling myself very clearly, being floated out of the living room.
And then I felt myself being lifted up and out, and watched myself go through the French doors and through
onto the deck of our house.
They get taken up into some kind of a craft,
and kind of being lifted up into the ship,
up into the bottom of the ship that wasn't very far away, in this peach, sort of orangish ready light.
A classic kind of in a beam of light.
Sometimes there'll be humans working alongside the aliens, or the typical humanoid greys.
They go up to about the middle of my chest, so I'd say that's about 4.5 feet.
It had this gray head.
Their grayish skin and color.
Pointy chin, these large liquid black
heads,
eyes.
kind of pear-shaped heads with large eyes, almond-shaped eyes.
No nose that I could really tell, no lips, just sort of a slit from mouth.
Kind of snake skinny, kind of like that very smooth or shark skin or kind of fish skin.
Like beings, reptilian beings, insect-like beings, praying mantis-like beings, and then procedures occur, which involve examinations, poking.
I was on a table in the ship, and they shoved this needle into my belly, and I thought, oh my God, I'm gonna die from this pain.
Distinct 2 puncture marks. It wasn't red and raised like a normal spider bite would be. And as I recall, it healed very quickly. It healed unusually.
I woke up the next morning from this really nasty experience of the reptilians with the puncture gun. I had 3 puncture marks in my belly left over that healed in this really strange way, very quickly, like with 3 little sunburn marks on them.
One night, I come home and I walk in, and Peter's sitting in the living room. There's a bottle of whiskey next to him. Now, Peter doesn't drink. I mean, you know, a glass of wine or something, but this bottle of whiskey or bourbon or something like that. There's this ashtray full of cigarette butts. And he doesn't smoke either. And, like, the whiskey bottle is, like, half filled. And he was just, like, in a daze. And I just walked in and I was like, oh my God, what's wrong? What's going on? And he was just like, I can't handle it. This is way too much. What I'm going through is just over the top, you know. I remember wanting to share it with him about my life, and he was like, Jamie, I can't be there for you. I can't. I'm like going through too much myself. And that happens in relationships. Of course it does. But usually there are things that somebody can name, or there's something that you can say, this is why he is going through that. But what am I supposed to say to people? Well, my husband thinks he's been abducted by aliens. He's had 9 regressions with a psychiatrist from Harvard University, and he's not available. He's not even in his body anymore, and we don't even talk to each other.
But let's get into it. What is this learning that you're there for about the future? Anything?
It has to do with the one on my left, the woman. It's like she's going to be my teacher. Mm-hmm. She's going to be my guardian or something. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. She's going to watch for me. There's something that's going to transpire. Oh my God.
Mm-hmm. What'd you get?
That we're going to fuck.
What?
That we're going to fuck.
You and this woman?
Yeah.
Right then and there?
No, I mean, that's what just...
Uh-huh. Is there a desire that came up for you then, or is it just a thought?
No, it wasn't a desire, it was a fear.
A fear that you're going to fuck with her?
God.
Okay.
Everything just sank. It's like, I'm going to breed with her.
Yes.
That's what's happening.
Okay. And what's so shocking about that?
John, what's so shocking about... It's not every day I wake up and have somebody tell me I'm breeding with aliens, you know?
Well,
I mean,
I want to know...
Shocking. It's shocking because I wasn't aware of it before, that I had no idea that that's what was going on.
Yeah?
And,
okay.
A year ago I figured out, or whatever, you know, I found out that my sperm was being taken,
right.
You know, but now to walk into a room and to actually see, like, the woman I've been... I can't tell if I have been or if I'm supposed to make love to her.
Well, why would you need to make love to her if they've taken your sperm? Why couldn't they do it some other way? The sperm...
It's about contact. It's about connection.
Okay, but they could have taken your sperm and used that for hybrid baby making without necessarily any connection between you and the alien. So the fact that the future holds connection between you and this female being is separate, is additional information, is it not, than simply taking the sperm? Is that correct?
Yeah. Oh, John, this is going to sound bizarre.
That's all right.
It feels like... Oh, man, I don't know if I can take this. It feels like she's my real wife.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It feels like she's the person that I'm really connected to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like... Mm-hmm. I want to say on a soul level.
Mm-hmm.
I was pissed. I was really pissed. Because I didn't believe it, first of all. It felt too... And here I am studying psychology. It felt too like there was some more psychological issue that was at hand. So that was like the straw that broke the camel's back. So it's not like there was some woman he was with. This was like some experience on on another plane of existence that he had a relationship, with someone. And what do you do with that? What do you do with it?
I'm trying to say that I've had this experience that the only language I have for it, the vocabulary that I have to explain it, is this deep, deep, heartfelt connection with this being that is on this other plane that is alien.
If being with the alien female is your soulmate, or if there's some longing to be connected to something that's not here, then don't be with me, because I want to be with someone who wants to be with me and connect with me in this plane, because the alien plane isn't existing in my life. So then, well, what am I, just an actor, a stand-in until you die?
A couple of years into my experience, when I was sitting in a room somewhere, I don't know if it was a ship, I don't know if it was another place in another point in time. It was very quiet, the lighting was very dim, and an elder being brought in. It was either 3 or 4 of these little beings, and they looked very sort of bluish in color. And they walked over to me and stood in front of me. They couldn't have been much bigger than this. They were quite young still. And I remember one being here and touching the seat that I was on, and another one was touching my legs, and another one touching my legs, and another one over here. And I looked to the being who had brought them in with this question on my face, and the being communicated that they were mine. It's sad to be separated from them. And yet there's nothing I can do. I'm just here. I'm not in control of it at this point in time. All I can do is continue to seek to understand it. If I could go visit them, I would. About 1.5 to 2 years of quiet now. There's no way that it seems that I can initiate contact or make a return. I'm just sort of left here.
On one hand, I'm really grateful that I don't have these experiences anymore. On another hand, there's a part of me that misses the connection. I wait and wonder. I wonder and wait and wonder. And I wonder what the universe, what the divine, what the aliens were doing. Like, was I just a sperm sample, when I was in my 20s? Or, is there something much larger here? And what's the purpose of it? I find it hard to believe that it's just about...
Well, I think it was just about you and me.
Well, on one level it is. On one level it is about our relationship. Right?
I know, it's just...
I know you're trying to dismiss it.
No, I'm not trying to dismiss it. I'm not.
What are you trying to do?
I wasn't trying to do it. I was trying to be funny.
Yeah. One more thing we've gone through together, huh?
Mm. It is the one more thing we've gone through together. And I just really... I don't know. Just one more thing we've gone through together. I think that's what I wanted all along. I just wanted to be together in it, but I didn't really know how.
You've been the witness for 6 years in this thing. And now finally, it's like...
It's more than 6 years, honey.
Yeah.
It's like 10.
Right. What's this been like for you?
Yeah.
Hmm. When I came to Dr. Mack's defense, I got a number of phone calls saying, Alan, stay out of this one. Dr. Mack is crazy. He's insane. He's nuts. Some people said, no, he wasn't crazy. He was opportunistic.
If it was an opportunity, it was an opportunity to commit professional suicide. For writing this book is to try to move the conversation out of the argument about whether UFOs, abductions are real or not. That is very boring to me at this point.
I would like to think the best of John. I would like to think that he truly believes that there's something important going on. But his problem is that his thinking on this subject is totally blinkered. He's so biased and so set in his ways that he cannot do what people of his intelligence ordinarily do, and that is raise the question, could I be wrong? Are there other possible explanations, and how would I find out? And I think he's only human. He's undoubtedly influenced by the fact that he has a following. It's a cult.
No, I don't believe that I could hold that these beings exist in a purely literal, physical, material way. Do I believe they exist in some sense? Yes. Do I believe they're real? Yes. But I would always have to qualify for a Western-trained person what I mean by real. And a lot of people don't want to hear that. This is an outreach program from the cosmos to the consciously impaired. There seems to be some effort to get through to us. Difficult. God is dead. You know, Nietzsche said so, blah, blah, blah. So it's not easy to get through. But it does seem as if there is a creative intelligence at work here trying to create some kind of a connection, reach us in some way.
Don't know why we're here. Then I'd come out here because I felt like if I didn't come out here, you know, I couldn't get on with my life. I couldn't commit to a job, I couldn't commit to education, I couldn't commit to a relationship until I got this out of my system. 2 years ago I went out and bought a Scottish map and thought, okay, I'm going, and it's just never been the right timing. I haven't made it until now. It's that I have this pull here. There's something inside of me that knows that it's Scotland. Like, I feel that this little boy who had the bubblegum machine is of Scottish origin. My feeling is that we've met off and on throughout our lives. There's just this somebody I'm waiting to be with. I'd like to think that somewhere there's this grown man now, hopefully in Scotland, or thinking maybe in Scotland. I think he has a Scottish accent, who has sitting on his mantle somewhere, you know, this bubblegum machine that he acquired in a strange way when he was playing in a field when he was a kid. Let's say this person is here. The point is that even if I'm with this someone, that still doesn't solve my dilemma of what am I supposed to do here now? If I go down this path, meaning if I stay here in Scotland, then my life could unfold this way. But if I make a decision in this moment to go back to America, will it be that I never come back here again? That I never live out this reality? And is it really my choice? You know, is there a thing as destiny or is there not? These are the same questions that everybody asks at different moments in their life. And somehow it just seems made a little bit more complicated or a little bit more messy because somehow I'm always asking this larger question, like, what do the aliens have to do with all this? You You know, what does this experience have to do with all of this? It's kind of hard to know that where the experience ends and I begin, you know?
Something interacted with me, not once, not twice, but repeatedly for a good period of my life and a good chunk of when I was doing the regressions that I can't deny. And if it was aliens or not, or fairies or the tooth fairy or, you know, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I mean, in my mind, I think it's extraterrestrial, but I'm really open to whatever it might be. But something happened, you know. And I've yet to have somebody come up with an explanation that I could say, yeah, that fits for me. You know, it's not my childhood. I know that much.
Wouldn't this be an example of our desire to find solace or meaning outside of ourselves? That's the question.
Is there anything else? I mean, are we trying to do anything else? I mean, is the human adventure anything but that? Does it, well, to find meaning in the cosmos for ourselves as conscious beings? I know there are lesser things like pleasures and whatnot, but basically that's what we're here for, isn't it?
London. Hope you're sitting down. Got a story. I got that email that you forwarded to me from the guy who wrote it to you wrote you an email on your website, and he and I have spoken recently, and I have to tell you, I think he's the kid I handed the bubblegum machine to. There are just too many details that he knows about the experience that unless he had been there as a boy, there's no way that he could have known it. Also, he's the right age, and check this out. He's from Scotland.
No reason to suppose that the aliens aren't connected with just traditional daemons. The thing about daemons is that people always believe in them as real, and you can't say they're not literally real, and you can't say they're only metaphorically real. They're kind of both, because they belong to a worldview which doesn't make that distinction.
So much of what you said I completely agree with and resonate with, but there's this other element that
I'm saying that a visionary experience is as real as real as anything. It's more real. The bottom line is, I think deep down, I'm not going to stand on this, that if I was in the room when you were abducted, I wouldn't have seen you carried up your body going up through the ceiling.
Right, and I would say...
I really don't think that. Right. But I'm not ruling it out.
Would you feel at all threatened as a human being if these beings were coming here in the capacity that I'm describing?
Sure, yeah, who wouldn't?
And why? And what would the thing that you would feel threatened by?
Well, almost everything,
It's not an absurd question. It's not an absurd
It's absolutely not an absurd question, but I mean, who wants to wake up in the middle of the night to find, rather unpromising looking creatures who, then completely take control of you and do exactly what they want with you.
It's easier for you to be sort of softer in your energy or your expression, because this is something that's just sort of an intellectual or full body sort of interest for you. This is a pursuit.
No, I'm passionate about it.
Okay. All right. So passionate about it.
I've been seized too.
Have you? By the idea, the notion.
I know that carries no weight with you. Unless you go through a wall, you think you know.
No, that's not true.
You think I can't know anything because I haven't been snatched through a wall. But
no.
I'm doing the best I can under these constraints.
I know.
I see this notion that we can find truth in personal testimony that John Mack relies on. I see that as the heart of the irrationalism that pervades our culture today. I think it makes us very gullible, and I think that it's very dangerous.
I don't know Dr. Mack. I have no idea whether there's any validity to his theories. I'm not an expert in the area, but I didn't know Galileo, and I would have come to his defense, even though I might not have known whether he was right or wrong. Universities are places to explore the outer reaches of possibilities, and surely Dr. Mack was well within the traditions of science and the university to explore these views. Whenever I speak out on behalf of academic freedom or freedom of speech, I generally don't focus on the right of the speaker, but rather limitations on the power of those who would censor. And what I was terrified about was the slippery slope that could be established by accepting an orthodoxy, a canon of what is acceptable science and what is not acceptable science at a great university. Harvard should not have official committees of inquiry looking into colleagues' academic methods. We have peer review. Peer review exists. Anybody who writes or publishes gets criticized by colleagues. The marketplace is open. This is not Stalin's Soviet Union, where you had one established view and there was no opportunity to critique it. Whenever you have a committee of the university, whatever they say their limited role is, there is tremendous interorum fear generated among particularly young academics. You know, the real victim of a committee of inquiry is not Dr. Mack, who has tenure. It's the young assistant professor who might want to follow some of this research, or who might want to think in another speculative way, who says to himself or herself, I don't have tenure. I might not even have been hired yet by the university. I want the right to think broadly. And the message that a committee sends, no matter how constrained its jurisdiction, is we're watching you, we're looking at you, and we have authority more than just the marketplace. The marketplace only gives you the right to write an article and to criticize. A committee votes, and we shouldn't be voting on people's research. That's the virtue of a great university, the ability to sit side by side, criticize each other's work, and hope that, you know, someday, maybe in the distant future, some notion or proximity to truth will emerge from the collective diversity of the different views that are being expressed and researched at a university. We must have the right to take our research, our opinions, our inquiries where our conscience leads us without being fearful of the kinds of consequences of being fired or dismissed or having our salaries reduced. We have to fear consequences. The consequences we fear are the verdict of history. We risk looking like fools. We risk being wrong. And for an academic, there is no greater risk than the risk of turning out to be wrong. That's the essential constraint that a university imposes on its faculty. Remember, we're a university that has a divinity school. There are many who think that the worship of God or belief in supernatural aspects of religion are irrational. And yet theology was called the queen of the sciences. I think the verdict of history has proved that we can't stop human beings from asking questions about the origin of the universe, the destiny of the universe, what, if anything, is up above, what, if anything, is down below. We were created with the most inquiring of minds, and you just can't cut off inquiry by saying that's beyond the pale of rational thought. Do we have a monopoly on truth? Do we know that everything that we currently believe is going to turn out to be what science finally confirms in 1,000 years? I don't have that kind of confidence. In the end, the verdict of history might come down very, very harshly on Dr. Mack, but that's an area that he has ventured into. He has to satisfy himself and his conscience, not my conscience, and not the conscience of the president or the board of governors of the university.
Karen and I were involved for 6 to 8 months before we decided to get married.
When he met me, I was not having experiences or not aware that I was having experiences.
We were staying at her mom's. She had woken up the next morning and explained to me that she didn't know if what happened really happened, but she was very frightened, shaking. All I could be at that time was sympathetic. I also didn't know if it was just a one-time occurrence. I didn't know what lay ahead. She had visions and or feelings of having left the house, left her bed, traveling through the glass door, the patio door, not being able to explain it. I think she was fighting with, on one hand, was it a dream, but it was too real to be a dream. On the other hand, if it was not a dream, what the heck was it?
Having some alien come in and something so alien come in and change your mate so much and have it happen in your own bed was something that he said was more than he wanted to deal with. I know the reality of these experiences just as much as anybody knows the reality of whatever happens to them during the day. The only difference is that we've been taught that it's not possible. So that's where the stuckness happens. That's where the break happens. That's where the frustration happens is, wait a minute, I know this is real, but this is not possible. Something's got to give. Either I have to lie to myself, say I'm not capable of defining what's real for me, defining the physicality, the density of this experience. I'm not capable of doing this because people tell me it's not possible, or I have to consider the fact that maybe we don't have all the answers.